G'day everyone, it's SDS SuperCoach providing SuperCoach content for you. I'm here to present me and Harley Sports Talk's top five ruck prediction with an honourable mention involved. But joining me is Harley Sports Talk. How you going, mate? Welcome to the channel.
G'day, Steve. Thanks for having us, mate. Appreciate you inviting me on.
No problem, mate. It's always good to chat SuperCoach with everyone. And you're obviously well known on TikTok. You're absolutely smashing it on there and getting your Twitter game involved. Where can we find you before we get started?
Yeah, so on TikTok, it's Harley's AFL talk. So it's a general AFL talk, and then with some sprinkles of Supercoach in there. Probably a bit more now because it's Supercoach is very relevant now.
Yep.
So just doing some takeaways from the preseason games, and then just doing some thoughts on TikTok. Sorry, on Twitter. Just giving little spot fire sort of thoughts on there. So under the same handle for Twitter and for TikTok, and then there is an Instagram as well, but it's more or less the same on TikTok as it is Instagram. So all the same handle, Harley's AFL Talk.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Yeah, you're absolutely smashing it on TikTok. Yeah,
Thanks,
you
mate.
you do really good with the thoughts and all that. So let's get involved, shall we? So before we start again, you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen DW Smith and also on TikTok, SDS_Supercoach, now that I am unbanned. And like, subscribe, follow all of our Twitter and whatever pages, and let's get involved. I think we're better off starting with our honourable mention, I reckon, Harley. Who is
Yep.
your honourable mention who you can't quite fit into that top five?
Well, there's a lot of names that could be honourable
Yep.
mentions. So I've gone with Rowan Marshall as my
Okay.
honourable
Yep.
mention,
Nice.
just because at his best he should be a top fiver, but interrupted preseason, plus the potential for Boyd to come in at certain points during the
Yep.
year. I
Yep.
just think that he will be good as long as he's there. But if he gets chop outs in the ruck, then there's a chance he might drop. But he might not drop significantly, but enough to drop him out of the top five, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually haven't got him as an honourable mention at all. I just think that time with Boyd is interesting. There'll be some spike games there, but also the interrupted preseason. I think some people can underrate that because it
Mm.
can mean a player can't, especially a ruck where you're moving around so much. It can mean more risk of injury and not um, going the whole way through the season very well
Yep.
consistently. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually haven't got him in at all. My
Mm.
honourable mention is the heavily underrated Supercoach option, Toby Nankervis. And
Yeah, nice.
yeah, I've put him at 109.8, so he averaged 110 last year. So fairly similar ranking for him. Super underrated. We know he's going to be solo ruck. Um, Good player, but
Yep.
yeah, it's tough to fit him in with all this talent for the ruck line. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of names we'll leave out, but just leave in the comments your thoughts, and we'll respond to those comments. Let's get into number five. Who have we got as the fifth highest scoring? The highest averaging Supercoach ruckman, Harley.
So I've actually gone with Nankervis as my number
Yeah,
five.
yeah, fair enough.
So I believe he'll just have a very similar output this season, which was a 110, which seen him finish fourth last year. So I think that I don't see a world where he sort of changes. He plays on the edge every single time. The only thing that really hurts him is he is a suspension risk, but
Yep,
that obviously doesn't affect his average. That sort of
yep.
keeps him at the same average. And yeah, I think he'll finish fifth this season.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, we've both got him around similar range there. Then, yeah, number five for me, I've got Darcy Cameron as a bit of a bolter for the
Yeah,
Pies.
nice.
I don't know if Cox is going to play as much with the Membry inclusion. And I think the way Collingwood want to play, I don't know how Cox fits in there. I think you've got the Triple M, Myercheck, Membry, and McStay. So you got the Triple M there. I think he's been added to the leadership group. I know I heard on the way home from work on the rush hour he was a guest, and he just wants to keep adding to his game even further. I think he's very underrated as a player. So there's usually a bolter, and I think Darcy Cameron's my bolter, and there's one other bolter I've got in there too, but he sits in at
Interesting.
number five for me. What about
Yeah,
at
he
number?
would have. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was going to move
I
on
was
to.
going to say about Cameron. Yeah, he was one of the other guys that was very close to an honourable mention for me. He probably would have been just about next in line, I think.
Yeah, he's a very good footballer. How about number 4? Who have you snuck in there?
So at number 4, I'm going with Tim English.
Mm,
So Tim English for me, I don't think he will spend any time forward.
okay.
I think that Darcy is the more likely of the two to go forward. I think that he had a bit of a sort of a weird year last year, but I think he'll be better this year. I think that Darcy's going to be required more forward, as Jamara is a bit of an unknown at this stage, and that will help him sort of early days. And I've got him at around about 110 to 115.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And at number 4, I've also got Tim English. So
Nice.
I've got him at 113.1. I don't think we're going to see that 700K type Tim English again. I just think with the new ruck rule, with the way it's played, it doesn't suit him. But you can't deny the stuff he does around the ground. Even though he's terrible in hitouts, he can certainly move around the ball, get a mark. He even runs around on the wing and all that. So he's a very unicorn type of ruckman. Yeah, I agree. There might be stints where he plays forward, but I think the Dogs looked really good in the two key forward um, dynamic on on Thursday against the Hawks, where they actually look pretty good with with just Norton and Darcy there. I think it
Yeah.
provides a lot more potential for their small forwards to run amok. So yeah, I do think he will be spending more time in the ruck. I think there's potential. I think he's got to. So I think he's got to have a bit of pride as well. Last season was very poor by his standards from what we know what he is capable of. And I think there's a spike in scoring. Not a huge amount, but enough
Mm.
for I know we've both got Tim English, enough to, feel good at that price to where we can back him in for a bounce back season. So we agree on that one, of course, as we move into our top 3. Got a feeling 2 of our top 3 will be the same, but we'll see where you
All
go.
right.
Where have you
Well,
got us?
technically a bolter from me from last season, if you're going on last season standards, but he was 10th last season, so I'm going with TDK at 3.
Yes, I'm glad you put him
Yeah,
in. I want to talk about
yeah,
this one.
yeah. So no, obviously no pit net early. So that was obviously the biggest concern with him. And then I just think that even when Pitnet's fit, and if he's come in the first 4 weeks and he's dominated, like why are you bringing Pitnet in unless you need him maybe up forward as well?
Yep.
Um, I just think that TDK is potentially going to be one of the best ruckmen in the league for the next few years. Max Gawn said it. He went a bit further and said generational, which was interesting coming from a guy that is as good as he is.
Yeah.
He's surely going to be able to recognise how good some of these players are. Goes up against them, so yeah, I just think that I've got him between 110 to 115 as well, same as English, but with the potential to go a little bit higher as well. But I think that's his range.
Yeah, English is more your consistent. I know he was inconsistent last year, but you can bank on usually around 100, 110 type of score with him, where the Conning will
Mm,
either go 160 or 80. He's just
mm,
that type of player.
yeah,
Number 3, I'll get back to DeConning for me, but number 3, I've got Max Gawn at
nice. Yep.
116.8. I forgot who was saying it on the radio, but there's potential that they could look to rest him sometimes, play
That
Campbell.
was Troy Chaplin said it. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, thank you, Troy Chaplin. Yeah, so that in itself makes it just a little bit enough to where I think we expect a bit of a dip in Gorn. I know we've been banking on regression over the past few years, and he keeps proving us wrong. But um, yeah, I think it does eventually take a hit. A 33-year-old ruckman, it eventually does take a hit with all the knocks. I think it's going to be tough with that like I don't know how you say the word larynx injury
Mm. Yeah,
pre-season,
yeah, that's right. Yep.
the throat injury that he had. That so a little bit of an interrupted preseason. How's the physicality going to look with that type of injury? I guess he'll build out throughout the season, but still
Yep.
obviously going to be a great super coach option. Yeah, at 116 though, I think fair, I would say. Like we know he's an absolute legend of the game, but yeah, I think I expect a little bit of a dip with Max Gawn. And then as we move into the top two, who are we rolling with here?
So number two, I've gone Max Gawn.
Yep, yep.
So Max Gawn, they mentioned the resting, and it has come into sort of consideration for me. But are the Melbourne Football Club going to be a good team this year? And if they are a good team, can they really afford to rest him? Maybe, maybe not. So that's sort of the logic I had.
Yeah.
If Melbourne fall away late in the season, yeah, he might get rested just because there's nothing to play for. But if they're pushing for finals, you can't drop him. He's their most
No.
important player to that success. So, yes, it's in a perfect world, it'd be nice to rest him because you guys are absolutely flying and you're doing really well. But I don't think Melbourne are going to be flying this year. I don't know about yourself, but in order to rest him, like it's going to come sort of out of the blue, if anything. And I hope it doesn't happen. But I think that he'll play most weeks and I think he'll be really good. I've got him at around about 120, so 115, 120.
Yep, that's fair enough. Yeah, just general AFL chat. Melbourne by far and away for me are the hardest team to read. I don't know
Mm.
about you. They could
Yep.
finish as low as 17th. They could finish as high as fifth.
Yep.
And I
I
just
think
don't
that's the
know.
case. Yep.
And I just don't know. I sort of sit maybe similar to what they did last year because I feel like they're a couple of injuries away from being buggered. But yeah, they're going to be a very interesting watch. Simon Goodwin under a fair bit of pressure probably this
Yes.
season to get off to a good start. So back to number two, we're going to go. I'm going with Tom De Koning. I've put down 117.3 average for him just because, oh, yeah, he in the first team picker, he was the first pick for me. And yeah, now with the Petanet news, which is unfortunate, of course, but this is the golden ticket for Tom De Koning to be solo ruck because the one problem was if Curnow or Mackay, which Curnow has, if one of them go down, Pitanet comes in and De Koning plays forward. But now with the Pitanet injury, you would assume De Koning's solo ruck and he will get a free run for the first 5 rounds. And then they'll realize, oh, hang on, we were 9-1 last year with just De Koning as solo ruck, and we were 4-9 with Pitanet. So I'm just thinking, he plays this well to start the season. They can't put him back in because that's how they play their best footy, Carlton. So
Yep.
I think he's unbelievable value. I go as far to say I think he's a definite lock, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love the way he goes about it. His ceiling is insane. If you're worried about captain scores, just chuck the VC on DeConning Thursday night and have a good time.
Yeah.
Uh,
First
Crack
round,
open
it's
a
going to
couple of
be
beers. Yep. And
he's
just
going to be
watch
there.
DeConning go nuts. So yeah, look, yeah, I just think he's going to be the massive bolter of Ruckman if he wasn't already. So I think we know our number one. We can count it down in three, two, one. I'll say it. Three, two, one. Tristan
Tristan Xerri.
Xerri. What,
Yeah,
what's
Tristan.
your what's your range
He's
for him?
my range is actually 120 to 125.
Yep.
I think he'll be that good. I think he's got the pedigree to score that well. I've got some little stats here as well. So from round 12 onwards, he didn't go below 103 with top scores of 185 and 155, albeit against West Coast and Geelong, two of the easier opponents. But they are two opponents that he will have after his bye this season as well. So
Yep.
a guy that could absolutely storm home. I do actually think that Cherry will have a slow start, but by his standards, not
I agree.
necessarily a slow standards by, yeah, like when I say a slow, it could be like a 115, 110 instead of a 120, 125,
Yep.
which is why I'm actually not starting him at this
Same.
stage. So I'm not starting Cherry, but he's probably my target for that flex spot at some point, possibly after the round 12 bye, depending on where he's at and what he's priced at and how he's gone. But there is a genuine possibility he's just priced at where he's at or even priced out by that time. He's that good.
He's in the prime of his career, 26 years old, to my knowledge. Clarko was spot on, by the way. Remember when he first came in? Cherry's our ruck for the future, and
I remember,
he,
yeah.
yeah, he kicked Goldstein to the curb. It's a brilliant move from Clarko.
Yep.
About the only good thing he's done so far for North, but that's all right.
It's a
Um,
slow process for North.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to get out of that losing mentality, unfortunately, for North at this stage, but that's all right. I think they'll spike up this year. But
Yes.
yeah, Cherry at 6. I've put him down for 121 average. The one thing I
Yep.
will say, I think it's hard to have like a double breakout. I think you're sort of paying for what you're getting with maybe a little sprinkle of an extra 3 points on his current average. But yeah, his his game for Supercoach is perfect with the way with his style of play, getting clearances, wins the hit outs, can move around pretty well. I think he's just the perfect Supercoach ruckman.
Yep.
With just the style he plays. So yeah, I think we'll us non-owners will have to hope that he gets off to a slow start, and yeah, we'll have to target him. But he could just become out of reach, and we just have to death ride the pick. But yeah, he's yeah, if he was 50k cheaper, I'd love to start him. But that end of the season, just he just went absolutely bonkers. I mean, we can have a look at it here. He started out fine, but not amazingly, and then you see this post buy run, and as you
Mm.
mentioned, yeah, 103 was the only average score. After that, it was just ridiculous. And yeah, started out slow, but built into the season and delivered very nicely. So he was a massive win for anyone that started him there. So yeah, that's really the that's our top five prediction there. These are Cherry, Gorn, and DeConning are both in our are all in our top three. So that's really sort of the summary for us. Um, yeah, just before we wrap up, have you got a massive bolter in off the top of your head that maybe under 500k that could
Ooh, up to 500k.
under 500k?
Ooh, I don't know
Yeah.
if I have one under 500k. I'm assuming you've got someone locked. I actually I can't see your screen here. Hang on. Is there 500k? Not off the top of my head. The only one
Yeah,
that
I'll put it. I'll
is
put it. I'll put it down here. Mine is Jordan Sweet. Keep an eye out on
okay.
Sweetie.
Yeah, I'm not really as hot on Jordan Sweet. He came into the TikTok live once and liked my live a couple of times. I was pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, he liked
Um,
one of my TikToks as well. So
yeah,
he's
he's
a
a
bit
big
of a
super
super
coach guy.
coacher.
Actually, he was on the no, not the coaches panel. Which one was he on? He was on the keeper league with
Yeah,
Hef. And he was talking about how much he loves super coach there. So
yeah,
yeah, he is a super coacher himself. So maybe there could be something in that.
yeah. I mean, if yeah, because I actually had Jordan Sweet at R2 for a little bit, just with the news of the Kerno injury and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, look, I think in terms of other guys, I mean, Draper is hard considering that he plays more forward. You got like Matty Flynn if he can lock in R1.
Yeah, he was my first thought when you said that. It was if
Yeah,
Flynn gets it right, it's not a bad pick, but it's a very risky pick right now.
yeah. And I mean, if he's solo ruck, he should be able to average 80, 85 and make some cash there. So
Mm,
I'm not opposed to it, but I swear every training report I hear, he cops a knock.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, just so much risk attached to it.
he just gets
Um,
injured.
he's almost better off missing the start of the season and then being a trade in for like a guy that's already gone up and you can use him maybe the flex or something, and then that way, worst case if he does go down in game, he's a flex and it doesn't really matter, and then you can just
Yeah.
move him again. But that's what I mean. We're already talking about moving him. We don't even own him, so
Yeah,
so
no,
not for me.
I'm keeping my massive eye on Flynn with the flex spot, but there might be too many good forward options mid prices that might just be a bit too hard to fit him in, but that's all
Yeah,
right. Look, Harley, thank you so much for jumping on the channel, mate. I appreciate it. Good to talk some Supercoach with you.
no problem. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I get another invite.
Yeah, I'm sure you definitely will. You definitely will, that's for sure. So, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, no problem, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you're doing well. Cheers. Hang on, it's delaying.